Picture this. You're halfway through a mountain bike ride, right? The weather is absolutely perfect. The trail is just flowing beautifully under your tires. And you're feeling great. You're totally in the zone. But then, bam. Out of nowhere, something shifts. Your legs literally feel like they've turned into solid concrete. Your energy just vanishes. And suddenly, even those tiny, totally manageable climbs feel completely impossible. You're left sitting there, struggling to focus, and wondering why your body just flat out refuses to pedal another inch. You know, a lot of writers describe this visceral experience exactly like this. It feels like someone just flipped an off switch on their body. One second, you're crushing the trail, and the next, your internal power is just completely cut off. It's honestly one of the absolute worst feelings you can have out there on the dirt. And, well, congratulations. If you've felt this, you've probably just experienced what cyclists notoriously call bonking. Welcome to This Explainer. I am so stoked you're here because today we're taking a really deep dive into the mountain biker's guide to avoiding the bonk. Understanding exactly what this whole phenomenon is, and way more importantly, how to actually prevent it, is your ultimate key to keeping your rides fun, fast, and crash-free. So let's just dive right into it. Here's our quick roadmap for today. We'll be covering the dreaded mountain bike bonk, the anatomy of a bonk, bonking versus normal fatigue, preventing the crash, and finally, how to recover mid-ride. All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the dreaded mountain bike bonk. Let's lay out the painful reality here. Just look at the sheer variety of symptoms. This isn't just about your muscles getting a little tired, you know? Look at this checklist. Sure, you get the sudden extreme fatigue, those heavy, weak legs, and you really struggle to maintain speed. But notice the systemic stuff: dizziness, lightheadedness, trouble concentrating, and man, the sudden irritability or mood changes. You might even find yourself feeling weirdly cold or suddenly just incredibly ravenously hungry. A true bonk literally attacks your brain, your mood, and your body temperature all at once. Moving right along to Section 2, Anatomy of a Bonk. Now, I want to be super clear about something. Bonking is absolutely not a lack of willpower. It's not mental weakness. It is a biological state of critical energy depletion. It literally happens when your body runs desperately low on readily available energy, leaving you physically unable to replace that fuel fast enough to maintain your performance. So your output just drops off a cliff. So how does this actually work? Well, during a ride, your body mostly burns carbs and fat for fuel. But carbohydrates, which are stored as glycogen in your muscles and liver, are basically your body's premium, high-octane fuel for high-intensity efforts. And think about mountain biking, climbing, accelerating, hitting that punchy technical terrain. That is all super high intensity. When those glycogen tanks run dry, that's when the off switch gets flipped. And there are a few very specific traps that will rapidly drain those tanks and invite disaster out on the trail. First up, not eating enough before the ride. That basically puts you at a massive disadvantage from your very first pedal stroke. Then, waiting way too long to eat during the ride. That's a huge trap. Throw in some long, intense efforts, maybe a massive climb or a really hot day, and you burn through that glycogen even faster. And lastly, poor hydration. Dehydration actually makes all these bonk-like symptoms feel drastically worse and absolutely tanks your performance. Which brings us to Section 3. Bonking versus normal fatigue. It's important to remember that not every really hard ride is a bonk. I mean, normal fatigue is exactly that, normal. It creeps up on you gradually, your legs slowly get heavier, your breathing gets a bit deeper, and your pace just naturally slows down as the miles tick by. But a bonk, it feels entirely different. It is sudden, it is dramatic. Riders will go from feeling totally strong and normal to being completely empty in a shockingly short amount of time. This difference can really catch you off guard, especially if you're a newer rider who's just starting to push those limits. All right, let's talk solutions in Section 4, Preventing the Crash. The absolute best news I can share with you in this explainer is that bonking is almost always entirely preventable. Look at this timeline here. It maps out exactly when you need to be thinking about your fuel. Notice how prep actually starts way before you even get to the trailhead. A couple of hours before you ride, you need to be eating to top off those crucial energy stores. Then, for any ride that's going to push past an hour or two, you really must transition to eating periodically throughout the ride itself. And the golden thread tying it all together? You've got to hydrate constantly. Water is a massive player in energy production, especially in the heat or up at high altitudes.
And that brings us to the absolute golden rule of mountain bike nutrition. Start fueling before you feel hungry. So many riders wait until their stomach actually starts grumbling before they reach for a snack. But listen to me on this one. By the time you actually feel that physical sensation of hunger out on the trail, you are already running critically low. Honestly, it's already too late. You absolutely have to stay ahead of the curve.
So, practically speaking, what does this fuel actually look like? Well, a few hours before you ride, you're aiming for heavier, really carb-rich meals to pack those glycogen tanks full. We're talking oatmeal, bananas, toast with some peanut butter, or maybe a solid rice or pasta dish. But mid-ride, you need quick, super easily digestible snacks that won't sit like a rock in your stomach. That is where your energy bars, dried fruit, little energy chews, and trail mix really shine. Packing the right type of fuel for the right time is literally half the battle.
Now for Section 5, how to recover mid-ride.
Let's be totally real here. Sometimes we mess up. You underestimate a route, or you just flat out forget to eat. If you suspect you're bonking, whatever you do, do not try to tough it out. This is your strict, non-negotiable order of operations. Step 1. Stop and rest immediately. Just pull over. Do not push through severe fatigue. Step 2. Get some carbohydrates in your system as soon as physically possible so you can get some of that readily available energy back online. And step 3. Drink your water or electrolyte fluids. Depending on how deep of a hole you dug for yourself, getting your legs back might take a few minutes, or it could take a lot longer. But the earlier you recognize the signs and knock out these steps, the faster you'll bounce back. It's so important to really grasp this because, honestly, nobody is completely immune to it. Can the super experienced elite riders bonk too? Absolutely. Big, long-distance races, massive endurance days, scorching hot rides. Nobody gets a free pass. Even the most highly experienced mountain bikers out there can burn way more energy than they planned for. And it teaches us a pretty profound lesson. Pure fitness simply cannot outpace poor nutrition. Fitness alone? Not enough. Your nutrition and your hydration are every single bit as important as your grueling training schedule, your super high-end gear, and your technical skills. Actually, you know what? The stronger and faster you ride, the more critical your fueling strategy becomes. Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. Look, bonking is one of those awful experiences you will remember vividly, just sitting there wondering how on earth you're ever going to pedal back to the car. But with a little bit of proper planning, some smart nutrition, and regular hydration, it absolutely doesn't have to happen to you. Just remember, your body can literally only go as far as the fuel you give it. So my question for you is, are you packing the right snacks to conquer your next big climb? Make sure your gear is prepped, those snacks are packed, and your water bottles are full. Trust me, your future self halfway up some brutal, steep technical climb will absolutely thank you for it.